and right wing. That is a construction that doesn't, a construct, I should say. It doesn't have anything to do with reality. The only reason we humans gave them wings, nobody else did, was just to emphasize that they could move around freely. But in reality, you were giving them a physical presence that they don't have.
Correct. And I'm so glad that you said that. And I think that's so important for people to just understand. If they want to give grandma wings because it makes them feel better and it makes them think of grandma as an angel, fine.
Now,
It doesn't hurt anybody.
that being said, so when the apostles saw, or Mary Magdalene saw the angel at the grave, Jesus had arose. If they have no physical presence, how is that possible? Right?
Well, they have.
It's simply to help us to recognize they're there. It's just
Yes.
an imposed
Yes.
appearance. It's not a natural appearance. It's nothing like that.
And the you have to remember that an angel, and this is kind of the scary part too. An angel can look like whatever they want to look like. Now, I would imagine that has to come from God as marching orders. I want you to go down there and be Steve's grandma and look like Steve's grandma so you can talk to him.
Yeah, and also just to leave you with a thought, you could have a million angels be on a pinhead I mean, a head of a pin. I mean, it has no. We're not dealing with the same. We have no idea. See them in very for angels. I think we've all had. I mean, how
Yeah.
is that possible? And so there.
Now, I think we're question today 2, 3, and more about how. Um, um,
So God, the angels are instant contact. Um, it's not instantaneous. And so their mission is to do whatever they're asked to do, and they immediately know what they need to do. It's an immediate thing, and it's immediate. They don't have to travel. Like they want, if they need to be here, they're here. You know what I mean? They want, if they need to be here, they're here. You know what I mean?
right.
So it's an instant thing because they're not limited by at least five I can think of. At least five I can think of that we ascribe to them. Keep in mind that all these manifestations are manifestations for our benefit, not an expression of reality.
Okay.
So, regardless of what Isaiah says, it doesn't mean a whole lot. I mean, in the sense that they just simply do that because, and we can see them. I mean, otherwise, he'd be thinking he's losing his mind or something.
Well, but don't you think also angels enter our thoughts?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So in that point, then they wouldn't be visual.
Correct. Most of the time, in other words, if we limited ourselves only to the times that somebody's an angel, there wouldn't be a whole lot to talk about. Okay? But if we talk about every time an angel influences our life, when it can't be attributed to anything but coincidences,
Coincidence, right?
which to me is don't exist. So as a result of that, when it's all good, um, I would say no in the sense that they're called demons. Say no in the sense that they're called demons. In other words, the bad angels that fell away, and they didn't really fall, they chose. In other words, they said,
No.
we chose, we choose
Yes.
to be our own God.
Yes.
We
Well, they
choose.
were following Satan. Satan was kind of the cheerleader there and said, "Hey, you guys come with me,
Right,
and we'll be just me,
right.
and we'll be just like God."
But he's,
Absolutely.
well, the, but I think there's a better way to express it, and that's this, that you everything about God. They
Right.
were there. They know what then to obey and be happy. If you can understand that, you're mental because I can't. But your vision surpass God to lose heaven, that God in respect to free will has no choice but to be irrevocable with them, that they cannot ever have another chance. It's once and done.
One and done.
Yeah, one and done.
So, but you're not saying that angels die.
No, no,
They
no.
they're forever.
Now that's an interesting thing. The question, the demons, why not get rid of them? Because God doesn't create junk.
Very
He
good.
so he creates only good because they were done in that spirit. Pardon the pun. Um, he can't destroy what's good, intrinsically good. Not what ended up being bad, but that's why. It's to maintain his integrity as God.
I want to go through a couple Bible verses if I can. Let's go to Matthew 26 and just one verse, 53rd. And during his arrest, when he tells Peter, this is Jesus, do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father? And he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels. And legions are what, 10,000?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I should have looked that up.
No, that's okay. I'll look it up while we're on the show.
Yeah, it's a good question.
So in other words, armies and armies and armies.
I can only relate to the Roman times. I'm thinking, for some reason, but a legion comes to me to be 100, but that would be a centurion. I just don't know.
I'll Google it.
Yeah,
All right, then here is another Bible verse, and this comes from Matthew 18, and this is one verse, and it is verse 10. See that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I say to you, that their angels in heaven always look upon the face of my heavenly Father. Now, this kind of gets us to the next part of this program today, and that is, did Jesus? Well, all right, let me back up. So that's do you do you say that's the existence of a guardian angel?
could be interpreted that way. Sure.
Okay. So my question would be, when Jesus was down on earth as a flesh, when God was here as Jesus in flesh, did he have a guardian angel?
He could have. Now, when I say could have, because I don't know, I do know that angels ministered to him. You remember when he went through 40 days in the
Yep.
desert,
Yep.
and then angels came and so if he chose to have one, he would have one. Okay, but guardian angels, the way they're used normally, or what we think of them, it would be like they had to guide Jesus, and I don't think he needed to be guided that way.
Well, on Holy Thursday, right before Easter, right before Good Friday, Jesus asked Peter, James, and John to pray with him, but they fell asleep. So praying alone in his pain, because he was asking Father to please, if it be his will, take this cup away from me. So praying alone in his pain, an angel came to minister to Jesus.
Correct. So again, one of the functions is to do that, but it wouldn't be to guard him per se, because God's will is going to be done. So he's not going to deter that. Um, Now, one of the things,
Wait a minute, hold on. You made me think of something I've never thought of before. So are there specific angels that are guardian angels, and then there are regular angels?
again, this is our construct because we know that some do this, some do that. We have some evidence of that in the Bible. We have manifestations of different reports. I'd like to give you an example of one. Though I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. There's the case of the fourth man.
Oh yeah.
Now, there was a guy by the name of Ernest Shackleton who must have been, they claim he was the greatest leader of men, and he had a ship named Endurance, and it got trapped in a pack of ice. And I mean, we're talking way up north, and one of the most desolate areas. Now, he had a number of people. He had, I forget how many, 23, 36, maybe how many was it? A number of people. And he never lost a one, and this is over a period of 2 years. And he says he walked on ice, and he felt a presence. He had 27 men. All of them came home, and this is back in 1915. And so anyway, it was not only him, but there were three people, him and two others, that were walking this 36-hour march to see what they were going to do early on in this whole fiasco. And all of them reported after their trek that they experienced the presence of a fourth man. And what's interesting, that was after the fact. In other words, they didn't do it because of what they were going through at the time. They didn't have a mirage, and they all reported independently. And the fact, after that march, they determined what they were going to do, and they lived out there for 2 years. And it defies all possibility of happening. I mean, they only had so much food. They had to harvest some, from the sea. It just is unbelievable. And so they felt the presence. They felt the guidance. In fact, had they not been guided where to go in a very specific way, there was little chance they ever would have gotten back. It was unbelievable. And so that's one explanation of it. And
there are just so you know, a legion is 6,000 units, and I'm going to say men or women.
Thanks for looking that up. That's a good number.
Although angels do not have any gender.
Probably right. They probably would say the hell with transgender right off the bat because it don't make sense, right, for the get-go. And
Yeah.
of course it doesn't. In my opinion, that makes sense now. Now there's a quote that I want to quote, and it's by T.S. Eliot, who's quite well known. He says, "Who is the third who walks always beside you? When I count, there are only you and me together. But when I look ahead up the white road, there is always another walking beside you." And that's from his writing in The Wasteland. So the point being that there's many reports of this type of thing occurring. And what's interesting is young people today have a growing interest in that. And the question, what would you think? Why would you think that'd be?
What?
Why are young people
Young people.
interested in angels? Why?
Well, haven't we always been interested in angels?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, I always have been.
Well, yeah, but you're an odd duck. What about, in other words, you think of today's materialistic world and we rationalize everything. What would cause us to want to think of angels then?
Well, I will tell you that this may give us an answer or not, but one of the largest growing segments of churches are Gen Z. Those young people who are searching for something that's real. They grew up with video games. They grew up now.